Am I the asshole for not quitting my job so my nephew can go to a special needs school? Edit. I have talked to my boss about the rule today. My SIL can apply for a spot, but is in no way guaranteed this spot. A workaround will be made if nephew gets accepted. I won't be allowed to teach him during his years at the school if he gets accepted. I am a special needs teacher in the Netherlands. I teach students ages 12 and up. My nephew is highly intelligent, and he has autism. He has a difficult time to relate to other students, and even though he is really intelligent, it doesn't come out that much, as he has trouble with the way of thinking the Dutch education system requires, so regular schools wouldn't be an option. A few years ago I got a job as a special needs teacher specialized in autism. I love the school I work at, have amazing coworkers, and I find the students to be very interesting in a positive way. This truly is my dream job, and unless something changes negatively I could see myself working here until I retire. My sister-in-law and I don't get along. She hates the fact I can get along better with nephew than she can. To be honest, it is very hard to turn off the way I speak to people with autism, as it is what I do for 5 days a week, so I can't realistically turn it off when speaking to nephew. Due to this he responds better to me than his mother. I have offered my sister-in-law some pointers on how to understand him better, but every time I did this I got the same old excuse of, "I'm his mother, I know better, you don't even have kids, so you don't know what you are talking about." In the Netherlands, there aren't many special needs high schools that focus primarily on HAVO and VWO. This is where I get the most enjoyment out of. In our immediate area there is only one. The next closest one would be an hour commute every day. My nephew is getting to that age where he has to go to high school. He can do VWO, and this would also be realistic for him to pass. However, due to a rule in my school, teachers cannot have family members attending the school. He cannot go to my school. The next one over would be an hour commute for him by taxi. If he is lucky enough to get a taxi to himself, they are often shared. In the Netherlands an hour commute by car is really uncommon. My sister-in-law came to me and asked if I could put in a good word for nephew, as there is more demand for special needs schools than there are special needs schools. I then told her I cannot do that and nephew couldn't go to my school, as that would mean I would have to quit, because of the rule. My sister-in-law blew a fit, told me I don't want nephew to succeed, and that if she was in my shoes she would have quit. I told her that this is my dream job, and no amount of begging would change my mind. But if she wanted to I could probably put in a good word for nephew at the other school, as many special needs schools in the Netherlands have frequent contact. After this phone call my sister-in-law called my wife, told her that I don't want nephew to succeed, and that she should consider a divorce. So am I the asshole here? I know family should help each other, but I never thought this would mean giving up something I truly love to do. Not the asshole. You are willing to support with tips and guidance, and even reference to another school, but to ask you to quit is too far. There's a saying you don't need to light yourself on fire to keep others warm. That applies here. Not the asshole. You shouldn't be made to feel bad about not quitting your dream job. That does seem like a weird rule though. Do you know why that rule came about? NTA. Sister-in-law can move. If she wants her son to succeed she can move to another location with a special needs school. It is her son, not yours. Sound like she don't love her son enough winking face. Not the asshole your nation's rules on teachers and relatives at the same school need dealing with though. All they need to do is fix it so you don't teach him surely? Not the asshole. But could the SIL petition for an exception due to the long commute to the next available school is an hour away? Could you petition base student safety? Not the asshole. Like a few other commenters have said, she can move closer. This is your dream job and even if it wasn't, why should you put your household in jeopardy just so he can go this particular school? Although, I've never heard of this rule. So if you ever have a special needs child, your own child couldn't go to your school because you teach there? What's the reasoning for this rule? I'm in the USA and a child of a teacher. I went to the elementary school where my mom taught at until 8th grade. What an awful rule. I understand the point but it does nothing but harm the kids involved. But not the asshole. You didn't start your career with a secret goal of ruining your potential nephew's potential education. Not the asshole. Your SIL is rude, entitled and unreasonable. She and your brother will just have to figure out how to make it work for their child without you having to alter your career. Would I be the asshole for not paying for gas for a car ride I overslept and missed? The title might not make sense but I'll try and explain the situation the best I can. My best friend currently lives 4-5 hours away from me. A couple of weeks ago I went to visit her. I don't have a driver license, so I was gonna go by train. Once before when I visited her we decided that I took the train for half of the trip, and there she met me with her car and drove the rest of the way. She did not ask for me to pay for any gas that time. This time we decided to do it the same way. This time when it was the day I was going on I accidentally overslept. The alarm didn't ring, and missed my train. When I woke up it was an hour after I was supposed to meet her. She had messaged me earlier that morning and told me later that she thought it was weird that I didn't answer. I was already supposed to be on the train. She said she suspected it but started driving anyway. When she arrived at the train station she tried calling me twice. When I finally woke and saw that I overslept I called her. I felt super bad and apologized a lot for it. I asked if she couldn't keep driving the rest of the way, 2 hours, and then I'll pay her for the gas, but she said her car was overdue on service so she didn't want to drive it so much. In the end I got tickets for the next day and went all the way by train. Today, about a month later she messaged me. The food was 192 kr and the gas yuck 800 kr throwing kisses. I wasn't completely sure if she was joking or not about the gas, so I wrote back about the gas. The extra tickets I had to buy cancels out the gas, right? Cold sweat smile rolling on the floor laughing. And the response I got is, ha ha ha, you wish, rolling on the floor laughing. We have quite different view on money. She counts every little bit while I usually doesn't care that much. Like with the food she expects me to pay for my half while I don't really care about her paying me back when she visits me. But I don't really have any trouble paying for food. But it annoys me a bit about the gas. In my mind we didn't decide I was gonna pay for her taking the car and picking me up. The time before she didn't expect me to pay. And it's not like I just decided to not go and not tell her or got sick and didn't tell her. My alarm didn't ring. Accidents happen. I don't really have a lot of money right now since my job pays close to nothing. I'm quite confrontational and I really don't want to start a fight over money, so I'll probably pay her back just for the peace. I just want to know if I'm insane for thinking I shouldn't have to pay. Edit. I hear what you're saying. I'll shut up and pay, thanks for some perspective. Edit 2. I want to be more clear about a thing. Not that it'll affect the ruling, I just doesn't want to be misunderstood. On the whole, different view on money. I'm not saying that she's wrong in her way. Both ways are okay, we're just different there. She most of the time keep track of everything and splits every little thing. Down to a level one sometimes find a little bit silly. No matter if it's a random person, if it's her partner or me. She's not as nitpicky the other way around, when repaying people. But I think that's more about her honestly forgetting when she owes someone something. I do not keep as close track when spending money on others. But I'm usually very quick to repay people. For the sake of this story I'm adding a when I realize I should pay them. YTA. You caused her to do a 5-hour round trip for no reason due to being irresponsible. You should pay her for gas. You are the asshole. To answer your question, yes, you are insane for not wanting to pay. You wasted hours of her time. Her generosity and not charging you once doesn't entitle you to free rides into perpetuity. You are the asshole. Different view on money? Why do you think you having to pay someone else for tickets cancels out what you owe her? For you it might cancel out, but the only one losing in that situation is her, not the one that made you late, which is you. So what if she want you to pay for your own food? That's the minimum. If you want to pay for hers, that's on you. Don't pay her to keep the peace, pay her because you owe her. Take this time to think of why it's an asshole thing to not pay her, that you paying for her doesn't mean anything, and that you breaking even isn't fair when you're to blame. YWBTA if you don't pay, it's a cost she incurred unnecessarily because you overslept. Accident or not, she's driven for 4 hours to get you and had to pay for the gas even though you didn't turn up. If you're short of cash, see if you can pay part now and part next month maybe, but if you want to keep your friendship, don't expect her to fund your mistake. Yikes, she went out of her way to drive hours for you and you overslept. Just give her the gas money. You are the asshole. You are the asshole. Oops, I overslept. Despite it being nearly impossible with phones, Alexas, alarm clocks, and every other device in the world designed to prevent this. Sorry you drove 5 hours round trip because I'm an inconsiderate, lazy jerk. Wait, you want gas money? Yeah. A friend willing to drive that much to meet you halfway is better than you deserve. And you didn't even offer gas money last time either. You are the asshole. You need to pay for the inconvenience. It's not her fault you can't be responsible. You are the asshole. Be accountable. It wasn't an accident, you missed your train. Am I the asshole for telling my wife her sister cannot stay with us but mine can? My wife and I are a same-sex couple and I'm currently pregnant with our first biological child. We have 2 other children. Anyway, my wife has an older sister. Let's call her Jay, who lives on the East Coast and rarely comes to visit. Jay is lazy, has no job, is overweight, and smells really bad. She and I are cordial, but generally when she comes to town and visit and has come over for dinner, etc., she doesn't speak to me until I speak to her first. This is problem 1 for me. Generally when Jay comes to town, she and her 21-year-old son stay with their stepdad, mom. Wife's mom passed away, but it was their family home. Stepdad doesn't like when they stay with him because they generally stay for 1-2 weeks at a time, don't clean up after themselves, and his house usually smells really bad because they have bad odor, they smell like urine and so does all their belongings. He generally has to clean up after them when they leave and complains the whole time to my wife when they stay with him. He feels obligated to let them stay since it was Jay's mom's house too. By clean up I mean they will just sit around all day, sleep, cook food and eat but not wash dishes, offer to pick up their mess the entire stay. My wife has had to go over there on occasion when they stay and do the dishes because they won't. Okay, so my older sister who lives an hour away from us is throwing us a baby shower at the end of summer in our new home. I offered to let her and my baby nephew stay the night before the baby shower so she can get things set up, etc. My sister is helpful, cleans up after herself and her kid, speaks to my wife, and doesn't smell. My wife told me it's not fair I'm not letting her sister, nephew stay at our house for 1-2 weeks for the baby shower while I'm letting my sister stay for 1 night. She says my family can always stay but I have an issue when it comes to her family. She feels it's not fair as her sister lives halfway across the country and she rarely gets to see her. This is true. I mentioned to her that my family cleans up after themselves and don't leave a lingering smell while hers does. My sister also speaks to my wife and doesn't ignore her like her does me. She said she is willing to clean up after her sister, nephew to make sure the house is clean and the basement doesn't smell by the baby shower, but I don't trust it. I would be the one responsible for cleaning up after them for the 1-2 weeks as I work from home and my wife doesn't plan on taking PTO while they are here. Her sister doesn't drive or have a license so she would be home all day with me while I work. I told my wife I will be too pregnant, 33+ weeks, and stressed to deal with house guest weeks before the baby arrives and don't want to deal with the smell or company. Step-dad said he will not allow them to stay with him this time so her sister and nephew won't be able to attend the baby shower or meet our 15-month-old daughter if I don't let them stay. Am I the asshole here for not allowing her sister, nephew to stay? Edit 1. I should mention that I did tell my wife I can tell my sister she cannot stay the night before the baby shower. Not the asshole. It's not an issue of letting your family stay and not letting her stay. Don't even have that argument. It's a matter of letting a guest who respects your home stay compared to a guest who does not. Not the asshole. I kinda felt like you were probably being a bit unfair towards the sister until you got to the last part about their stepfather finally putting his foot down and not letting them stay either. They're terrible house guests. If she wants to see them then she use her PTO to go visit them. Not the asshole. Your wife needs to stop being a pushover. If she wants them to stay, she needs to lay ground rules for them. Take a shower. Don't act like it's their own house. Clean up after themselves. Those aren't hard rules to follow. Not the asshole. Your wife needs to actively host her sister and nephew and not dump the responsibility on you. Maybe you need to visit your sister for a week while she takes care of her sister. Have an overnight guest who is helping you host a party isn't the same as having 2 rude, gross and unhelpful guests stay for 2 weeks. No assholes here. Your wife wants to see her sister. Her sister makes you uncomfortable in your own home. Also 1 night versus 1-2 weeks is different. I agree having a house guests you need to entertain at a late stage of pregnancy can be stressful. If your wife needs to stay at a hotel when she visits, why can't she? Not the asshole. They are horrible house guests. Not the asshole. This is a tough one. I'm gonna go with Esh. You for not allowing her family in your shared residence and your wife and her family for not being honest with Jay about how unacceptable her behavior is and what the family's expectations are if she's going to be a guest in their homes. Also, if they have a lingering odor, it would be super awkward and probably hurtful, but they need to know that. Hopefully they just have animals that need to be properly housebroken. Otherwise they might need to seek medical attention. Either way, hope it all works out and congrats on your upcoming arrival. Am I the asshole for storming out of a family gathering when partner's dad calls me a PY? First time I've done this. Sorry, it's a doozy. Relevant details. Same-sex couple of 2 years. Partner's dad is a conservative Catholic. Always suspected he disliked me, but was mostly okay with his son coming out, so with E. has invited both of us to his house, cabin plus multiple holidays as couple. On family Christmas cards, have received gifts. Enough to feel like we're on good terms. Event. The trouble began when my partner and I were leaving the Memorial Day family celebration early, saying our rounds of goodbyes. This is something his father already dislikes because we are usually the first to leave, and this is something he gives us a hard time over. This visit was particularly short because we had an 8-week-old puppy with us, one we've only had for 2 days, who I did not want to bring to the family cookout, but ended up caving on as a result of a compromise with my partner. Compromise being we leave early. We get to Dad, who is next to my partner, his wife, and the rest of their family. Maybe 6 total. We say goodbye, and he asks me why I want to leave, and says we should just fucking stay here a while. I'm already getting uncomfortable because I already know the buzzed semi-aggressive dad routine. I answer that our puppy needs to go home. He then asks, is there something wrong with him? I say no, and then he asks point blank, then why do you want to leave so early? Finally, exhausted, I tell him, because I've been awake with the dog since 4 a.m. and we both need to sleep. Then he says, it sounds like you're being a pussy. At this point I was in shock, and shut down. I believe I said, no I'm not, but I honestly don't remember. He realized pretty quickly that I was upset. So he said something to the effect of, you know I only tease you 'cause I love you. He reached out an arm, and perhaps this was my mistake by sending a mixed signal, but with everyone watching, I reluctantly accepted the hug while he continued to explain that it was a joke. This would be a good time to mention that I have PTSD, and have had to endure this sort of talk from paternal figures before as a kid. So by now I was literally one of those characters in film that kind of zones out and everything goes a little silent, like when an explosion goes off. He was still giving his explanation that it was a joke, and I sort of walked away, grabbed the dog kennel and left the house. There were at least 4 other people inside the house that saw me silently storm out, so it likely became a scene by the time I was gone. In the car I told my partner that I wished he defended me. On a previous visit his dad called us both idiots. And I was super upset and had a talk with my partner about it, so this isn't an isolated incident. A few hours after we get a text from my partner's stepmother saying she's sorry I had a bad day with the family, and that my plane ticket to my partner's brother's wedding were cancelled. Am I the asshole? Update. Stepmom told us today the flight isn't cancelled, even though last night she said they were. Several posters called this tactic. Not sure what to think. Not the asshole. You didn't even storm out. You walked out without making a scene. Also, why are the tickets cancelled to the wedding now? I'm sorry you had to endure this. Not the asshole, but damn. That last sentence, a few hours after we get a text from my partner's stepmother saying she's sorry I had a bad day with the family, and that my plane ticket to my partner's brother's wedding were cancelled, shows exactly how awful both the dad and his wife are. That's throwing gasoline on a fire. Not the asshole. This wasn't the first time you've had to endure this, and it won't be the last. Your partner may be used to it, but that doesn't mean you have to accept that kind of behavior. It's probably, definitely, homophobia, and you and your partner have to have a serious talk about boundaries with their family. You're allowed to leave early anytime, no matter the excuse, and that kind of talk isn't funny. Not the asshole, you have a partner problem. Why was he silent? Not the asshole. Your partner should have defended you or at least helped explain to his parents. Also, this isn't a new issue and stems from your partner's parents having issues. Not the asshole is someone with PTSD. I told my partner family events are on my conditions only. Best choice ever. So Yuso's father insults you, tries to make a joke of it, then has his wife text you to apologize, but at the same time rescinds the plane ticket they purchased for you. Info. Does your significant other still have a plane ticket to the wedding, and is he planning on going without you? Not the asshole. First off, you should stop worrying about So's dad and stepmother because they sound manipulative and nothing you do will make them happy. They expect you to let them insult you and smile. The invite to the wedding was from the brother. Unless you hear from him that you are not invited, I would discuss what you want to do with your So. If that means you buying a ticket, then buy a ticket. Your So's parents sound horrible. Not the asshole. They suck, and your partner needs to not only stand up for you but also keep up his end of the agreement, leaving early. This sounds like a problem with your partner if this is happening more than once.